Welcome back to Different Walks, Serious Talks. You are back here with Markeisha, Autumn, Farah, and myself, Jessica. This week, we're going to talk about feminism. So, what is it? What does it mean to you? What do we apply feminism to? Maybe what do we apply it to that it shouldn't be applied to? Um, and is equality the same as equity? So, we're going to talk about first what is a feminist and what is feminism. So does anybody want to start with that, or I can start with the actual like dictionary definition?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the dictionary definition of a feminist is an advocate of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes, a person who supports feminism. And feminism, as defined by Britannica, is the belief in social, economic, and political equality of the sexes. Although largely originated in the West, feminism is manifested worldwide and is represented by various institutions committed to activity on behalf of women's rights and interests. So it's about women's rights, our right to be able to do certain things and to operate in society. So um, that's really the definition, and it's about social and economic and political leanings. Really, we're talking about being able to vote, being able to have equality of like money when you're working the same job with the same qualifications as men. We're talking about being able to have the ability to do what you want with your body. Those sorts of things. So then let's go with a different question. What do you guys feel like feminism is applied to socially?
Is it applied to? You mean like misconceptions?
Misconceptions, like correct, incorrect. What do we apply it to in general?
I feel like oftentimes it's usually applied to gender roles, even though it's very different than what feminism is. So I always find it very interesting where people would be like, well, feminism, so you should be paying for the first date or, you know, going 50-50, on everything because of feminism. And the two aren't necessarily related. So
Yeah.
feminism has to
Emotion,
deal with, say what?
emotions. Like
What do you
a man
mean?
can't sit there and cry just for no reason, where a woman can cry just because she's on her period. That's not exactly equal. I never saw my daddy cry growing up, and still, I'm told that I'm sexist because when I see a man cry, it's like, why are you crying? I don't even like women crying, to tell you the truth. But when a man cries, it's a total turn off for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, unless there's like a valid reason, like somebody died. And that's not okay. Like he should be able to cry because his feelings are hurt. And I do realize that, but that doesn't make it any easier for me to not to point my nose up a little bit if I see a man crying. Like I hurt a man's feelings on a date once, and when he started crying, it was like, oh my god, why am I even
You're
on a
like, it's a
date
wrap.
with you? Yes, and now when I think about it, it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair for me because if he had hurt my feelings, well, I wouldn't cry about it because I'm not a big crier. I would probably cuss him out, which is still the same type of emotional reaction. It's either way. When you're sad, you could have an angry reaction, and that's what we're used to more. Instead of crying, I'm used to anger instead of sadness. But when a man does it, you're like, oh my God, get yourself together. But he has the right to his emotions too.
I
So
would agree that men and women have the right to their emotions. But I don't think necessarily that is in direct relation with feminism. I do think that we have to think about the difference between socioeconomic things and like things like emotions only because like men having testosterone and women having usually lower testosterone and us having kind of a roller coaster based upon our cycles that does play into some of those emotional stuff. But like you said, I would, when I see a woman crying at work, I'm like, hey, we got to get it together. We have to make sure we're not like, blowing up and emotionally being crazy. I do the same thing for men and women. And I feel like it's been normalized that women have big crazy emotions sometimes, but I don't think it's okay either. So I think that is adjacent to feminism, but I don't think it's the same thing. Um, so I think it, like Markeisha was saying as well, like it gets applied to gender roles, but it's not the same thing because you can see a man that will, go to work and um they do the exact same work, or even women will do sometimes more work and won't get the same opportunities
Or
and
even the same pay.
or the same pay scale, and they sometimes that has to do with when they're entering the company, um, they get, a higher base rate, and so regardless of whether they then do like get the same raises or even the woman gets better raises based upon performance, they have already started behind because
Mm.
of those that inequality that exists in the workplace, because of somebody's perception, and because of the perception that, oh, maybe she's going to get pregnant and she won't be here to be as helpful as a man might be, and those sorts of perceptions. So you know
Well, nowadays
the
there's a lot of men that do stay at home. I actually met
Mhm.
someone in Publix the other day, and he doesn't have children yet. But he was just mentioning how if he gets in a relationship, he'll tell whatever woman that he ends up with that they won't be the stay at home person. He wants to be the stay at home person, and that's his right because he's waited this long to fall in love with someone. And he'll take care of them. He'll make sure he cooks, he'll clean, but he wants to be the one to take care of the children. And my initial reaction was, wow, that's amazing for you. But as a stay at home mom, I wouldn't agree because I'm the one who wants to take care. I went through the 9 months. So I think it should be my decision whether I'm a stay at home mom. So there was some mixed feelings, but I do know some stay at home dads or even dads that take care of their children more than the moms nowadays. And the moms want to go to work and they want the best of both worlds, but the men actually take the brunt of it. I'm not saying that happens more often or anything, but I think that as women, we do look at it unequally or however you call it because we're like, wait, I'm the one who did the 9 months. Why do you get to stay at home? Because, like I said, that was my initial reaction. But thinking about it, especially having waited so long, because, I'm in my 40s, I wanted to be a stay at home mom. When I was younger, I always said I don't ever want to be a stay at home mom. I can't fathom doing it. But as I got older, I wanted to experience my child as much as possible. And it's just interesting that my initial reaction was, "What do you mean you want to be the stay at home person?" Even though it's sweet, but
It is
that was
sweet, and I think a lot of times that is based upon, again, I think that goes back to gender roles and not necessarily feminism, because I think that whoever he chooses should have the option to, if they choose to have him be the stay-at-home person, then they shouldn't be judged for that, and that's what the equality is that you can make that choice without being judged and without there being adverse reaction to it. And so feminism really has to do with women's rights, but it can like feed into being able to have the right to like not conform to normal gender roles. And a lot of times we've talked about it before, stay-at-home moms tend to get a lot of flack about staying at home, but that's part of feminism, is you can make that choice. You can make that choice and not be judged for it, and you can make that choice, and people understand what all of that looks like. And so we support each other. We support each other. We see what the world looks like through the lens of equality and equity. Because equity isn't always equality, right? Like you can have something that's equitable and not necessarily equal to what you would think would be the best thing for someone else, right? So
Well,
actually
we were
being a stay at home mom.
discussing,
I've actually gotten a lot of flack. People have been like, "Why would you even choose that?" You know how hard women fought to not have to stay home, and people have actually turned their nose down at me. Like, how dare you become a stay at home mom on purpose? Are you sick? Is something wrong with you? Does your man force you to do it? And it's
And
crazy because
well,
I
well,
want
there's
to be
the
a stay-at-home mom.
there's the rub. We have fought so that you don't have to, not that you can't. And so
Hmm.
people truly misunderstand the point of feminism. We have fought so that people have the option, that they're not forced, they're not the property of a man that must do what he says. They have the option to stay at home and make that choice with their partner. They have the option to be, in a partnership with the person they're in a relationship with, and you make that decision together. And Marquise, you were saying something?
Oh, I was just going to say that, well, first of all, well said. You do have the option now. You get the opportunity to go into the workforce or choose to stay home. It's not a decision that's made on your behalf. So we have to thank those that came before us and helped make that a reality. Um, but what I was going to say was when we were discussing, this week's topic and we talked about the word equity versus equality, and one of us was like, I got equity in my home. Like I know what that is.
Yeah.
So I think it's
Yeah.
important to understand the difference between the two. Equality
Yeah.
means everybody gets the same thing. And I think of this cartoon once, I don't know who's responsible for it, but they demonstrate it very well. It's like people are watching a ball game from a field and they're trying to peek over a fence to see the ball game. And equality means everybody gets the same platform to stand on to look over this fence. But some people were taller and some people were shorter. So even though it was equal, it didn't benefit everyone. But equity means the taller person doesn't get a platform because they don't need it. The shorter person maybe gets a bigger platform or gets two of those platforms because the tall person didn't need it. So now it's equitable. So everybody's getting their needs met and they can now have the same experience. And I love that. But I love that depiction because it just makes it very clear. We want you all to be able to have the same experience despite whatever attributes that you couldn't even choose, you're just born with. It's not something you should be penalized for if you are shorter, taller, you know, male or female. That's not something that
Mhm.
we chose. So why should we have to suffer because of it? And I think the same way about, women's menstrual products. I didn't choose to bleed every month. I actually rather not do that. So why do I have to pay for this biological thing that happened to me? Like I didn't choose it. So I think all menstrual products should either be free or damn near close to free, you know? And
Yeah. I
I
don't.
had to sit with myself with that thought because I was like, well, what about people that have glasses? They didn't choose to come out not being able to see, but you have to pay for your glasses once a year, perhaps, if your prescription keeps changing. We have to pay for these products every single month,
Every month.
and it
And if you
adds
want
up
anything
so quick.
organic, it is expensive. If you want things that don't have all the chemicals, you're paying like it's exponential.
Like, it's
So,
insane because before the whole organic push, we were paying to have chlorine pressed up against our most sensitive body part.
hmm
We're paying to have toxic chemicals by our hoo-ha. You gonna make me pay for this? I just think it's wild. So
yeah.
I don't think that our current system is set up for equity across the board. And it's not just in regards to men and women, but all across the board.
And I think a lot of companies are doing better than they were. So there's a lot more equity across the board. There's a lot more places where you see that people are actively like they celebrating that women are able to come in and have the credentials and you got to think of this similar to DEI, right? Like DEI does not mean that we're hiring people. DEI, feminism, all of this, it doesn't mean that we're hiring people that are not qualified for the job. It means
Hmm.
that we are looking in a broader spectrum of people to find people that are also qualified, outside of what our norm is. So we're not just looking at men, from a specific base, we're looking at broader to see if there's anybody else that could also fit those roles that already have those qualifications. So there's tons of companies that are broadening their horizons to look for women who have, the qualities and the degrees and certifications that are necessary to fill these roles. And they're finding them because, women are, at a higher rate than ever before, especially Black women are getting more certifications, more degrees. We are more educated than we have ever been. And so there's no lack of people available to take these spots. Um, and then, when we talk about like we were going back to, you know, uh, if it's all equal, then we both pay for the first date. Like we pay for ourselves, or you pay for the first date. I don't have any problem paying for the first date,
I
right?
do.
Some people do. And here's the thing, that is outside of the realm of what we talk about, about what true feminism is and what it's for. Um, but I don't think a lot of people think that way. A lot of people like link everything together to where, well, if she's going to get equal pay, then I shouldn't have to pay for a first date. Okay, then find somebody who doesn't think you should have to pay for the first date. That's it.
When I was growing up, a proper first date was never at McDonald's or Wendy's. And I know a lot of guys recently have been purposely taking women to like fast food restaurants, but
Coffee
even Red
dates.
Lobster was considered okay. And you got dressed up. You didn't wear jeans. You didn't wear some raggedy t-shirt. You tried to impress the other person, not just the man, the woman also. She would get dressed up, her hair would be done. You might go get your nails and toes done for the date. Nowadays, people are like, "Oh, it doesn't matter how I look because they gotta like me for me." No, you're supposed to make a good first impression. I don't care who you are, how much money you make, what you think you've accomplished in life. First impressions matter. And if you're taking somebody to Wendy's on a first date, it's setting you up to think of what the rest of the relationship is going to look like. I want some good impression so that way I can continue to try and impress you. But if you're not trying to impress me, why even bother continuing? Because the point of a relationship for me is to try and make each other better and better, growth. So if you're not even trying to show me that you want to grow on the first date, what's the point in continuing? So go ahead and take me to McDonald's. I'll still eat, but I'm not calling you back.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And
Now,
I think
Autumn, you
that's
shook your head. It looks like you
separated.
had some thoughts on that.
No, hmm, I wish I'm trying to use my words wisely because
Don't say it out there. These people need to hear it.
I wish
It's
they
a safe
would.
space.
Yeah, I
I
wish
wish
they
it would.
would.
Oh goodness. We're gonna get canceled. They're like, they were talking about feminism, but then
Yeah, I wish
oh
they would.
goodness.
Yeah.
So from a social point of view, when we're talking about feminism, we talked about conversing on this episode. Autumn, you were like, no, I don't. You kind of wanted to stay away from this particular topic because there's so much branding around feminism, right? Um, because people, when you hear feminism, it sounds like a four-letter word. Like it really does. In so many spaces, people are like, well, you're a feminist, and they make it as if it's not just about equality and equity, right? We want to have equitable treatment, um, and this is not. I feel like having these opportunities, um, people feel like you have to take, like we talked about stay-at-home moms, that you have to take advantage of them. You don't, but you have the option. And so, people using it as a four-letter word makes it socially seem like it's something that it's not.
What's the four-letter word
And
again? Yeah.
so when you say something sounds like a four-letter word, it sounds like it's something that is bad. It sounds like something negative.
Like a
And
cuss word.
so, yeah, it sounds like a cuss word.
Cuss
So,
words are not
oh,
bad.
Mm,
Can your children cuss right now in front of you?
Hell no. Shit.
Okay, just checking.
I can't even curse
I
in front
wish
of my
they
mama.
would.
I wish they would. Wish a would.
Be careful, there's my mama wage. Just saying.
Still not allowed to
But
cuss in
yeah,
front of my mama.
so
Shoot.
so Autumn, so how do you feel about that?
I have I don't have a dog in this fight, really. I think everything is based on I know there's outside elements that affect us all, you know, but at the end of the day, as an individual, we do what we need to do for ourselves. Um, if Johnny Joe Blow don't want to pay me what I'm worth at a job because he think, I don't deserve it because I'm a woman, that's his problem. But if you keep mistreating me, I know how to take my resources and myself to another place that will treat me with, dignity and respect. Or I just leave altogether, period, and make my way throughout the world, without having other issues,
But it would
So
be lovely if you didn't have to navigate the world like
it,
that,
it would be,
you
but
know?
we don't live in a perfect world, which I know. And also, we didn't make this system. We didn't create this system. It has to be dismantled. We've been trying to dismantle it for decades, for a very long time, since feminism started. There has been some progress, yes, but as you can see, the progress we do make, there's always somebody behind us to tear right back down. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of stuff is based on an individual level.
But
Yeah,
like
we're all individuals trying to navigate
Yeah,
this system
the system
of,
exactly,
yeah,
of a whole lot of stuff.
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
but I feel like if we all felt that way, if we all just said, "Well, I'll just take myself somewhere else if you can't appreciate me," we wouldn't be here right now.
But
Like
I'm not
we
going
wouldn't
I'm not
have
going to waste
gone
my
forward.
time. Time is one of my favorite things is time. I'm not going to waste my time trying to fight something that I know that I'm not going to possibly win. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to
Well,
waste
I
my
feel
energy.
like you have the ability to do that because of women who did it
And
for
I
us.
thank them. I thank everybody that came before me. I thank them. I thank my ancestors, and I do think that. Yes, yes. And everybody thinks differently. I thank God for Martin Luther King. Marching. On the behalf of our civil rights. And it's not like I'm uh not connected to all that because I am. But at the end of the day, I try not to bother myself with things that I know I have no control over. That's just me. I work with you know, what I can do.
I don't
I
know if
can
you
see that.
remember, Jessica, like 20 something years ago when I worked for theaters, they tried to give me every reason under the sun why I couldn't be a manager. At the time, I was young and I just kept doing all the work. I used to work under this guy. He was OC, and that's like a step right under a manager. It's basically the assistant manager. But I did so much work. I did the synopsis for the movies. I did all the orientations. I input all the information into the data banks for all the new employees. I did the supervising. I did the training. I did all of the parties that we did, and still they would not give me manager. Eventually, after 4 years, I did end up leaving. And they have gotten a lot better, I'm sure. But back then, no matter what I did, I knew it wasn't going to make a difference and I wasn't going to advance. Now, fast forward to a couple years ago, I worked for a 7-Eleven and I worked really hard and I finally got up to assistant manager, but I could not make it to manager. And this is 20 something years later. And, I kept getting this excuse and that excuse. And I was working 3 jobs. And this is just like, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6. But as far as we have come as women, it's still a fight.
Yep.
And it's even harder as a black woman. I was actually scared to have a girl because of how difficult it is as a black woman. Like, a lot of people didn't understand. They were like, why do you want to voice so bad? It wasn't that I wanted to voice so bad because I love my daughter. I don't ever want her to think that I didn't want her. I was scared to have her because I have a lot of capabilities. And I know that I have a lot of skills, but people don't take me as seriously.
The reality of it. Exactly.
And it's even worse for black women. Like,
Mm,
it's difficult for women in general, but being a black woman, I've been stepped over so many times that it's
Mm.
disheartening. And I know people are like, oh, just keep your chin up and keep working at it. But you can only work so hard for so long. And I will never
It's
feel
hard.
worth it, but I will feel like you're not giving me the opportunities and I will leave you. That is the type of relationship. We talk about men and women and the relationships that we have with just men and women, but it's not just that. It's relationships that you have with companies. It's relationships that you have with businesses. Even with businesses that I give my business to as a black woman, sometimes they'll be a little vile. And I've had people be specific towards the fact that I'm a black woman when I'm out in public doing something. And all I can do is either suck it up because I don't want to go to jail and I'm older and actually realize that I don't want to go to jail, or I can go ahead and let my mouth run and then the cops are called. And they're called really fast on a black woman.
so fast.
So it's kind of like you got to pick your battles thing nowadays
You're damned if
because
you're damned if you don't. Hmm.
like
But
you want
isn't
to
it
stand up for yourself
insane?
and huh?
But isn't it insane how much mental space it takes up in your mind? How much energy you have to put into how do I navigate? How do I nav things just like going to the store? Some people don't think twice about. But even
Yeah.
since we were little, we were taught, instructed, trained, keep your hands in your pocket, stay right next to me, don't touch anything. And when
Yep.
we were little, we might think, oh, maybe my parents were just being mean. No, they were trying to protect us because the stigma is we steal. We're taught this from a very early age. So you might not think twice about going to the store, but we have to know we have to carry ourselves a certain way. We have to engage in this respectability politics just to be seen as just human. We're not treated with the same level of consideration or respect. We have to keep proving that we are deserving of it. And just that act in of itself is exhausting. We think
It's
about
It's
very
not a normal
where we're
reaction.
driving to and what we drive and what hours we drive. Because when is it going to be safest for us?
Oh my God,
It's
I
a
get
lot.
stopped by the police so much. It's ridiculous.
But you
I
probably
got
get stopped by
stopped
the
once
police
because my
more often
seatbelt was
during the
loose.
daytime, right, than you do at night. Because during the day, the color of your
they can see you.
skin is much more apparent. So you
Yes.
have to think about all these things that a lot of other people just
Don't have to deal
completely
with.
take for granted.
Yep.
They don't have to deal with it. They don't have to think about it. So the struggle, I feel like, is especially cumbersome for women, but more in particular, women of color, because now we're fighting so many more stigmas.
More.
Mhm.
Yep.
You don't want to be the
Yeah.
angry black woman.
Don't you dare be the angry black woman.
Oh my God,
So,
God forbid you have an emotion. How dare
but
you? Well,
mind you, you're being put in a situation that emotion makes a lot of sense. That would anger
yeah.
anybody. But you, as a black woman, should not be angry. You're supposed to take it on the chin
Yeah.
and keep moving. That's insane. You
We
just
are
called me out my
held to a
name.
higher standard. We're held
Yeah.
to a higher standard, and we should be, because we have so much love and care to give, we should just take it. And that I feel like that's how a lot of this is viewed, is because we have so much love and care, and because people see that we are so outgoing and helpful and nice. They're like, oh, I can step all over that, and you shouldn't really have too much of an issue. You're nice and helpful and caring. But as people have very much found out, that will be just as upset as anyone else, and a lot of times what we will do is take it to the corporations. We will fight for the right to be able to exist in society without having to, be harassed, without having to have people say, well, why do you belong in this space? We belong in this space just because we are, just because we do exist, because we want to, because we feel like it. Like we shouldn't have to explain the
Explain it.
reasons why we're
Yeah.
in normal spaces.
And it even goes
Um,
so far as we have to deliberate how we name our children. Because if we name them a certain way, they will carry a stigmata for the rest of their lives. You can't proudly name them after a great aunt who was Lakeisha or Lasandra because they're going to be known as a black person. And if you end up with a more Caucasian name like I did, if you show up somewhere and they thought, wait, I thought I'm looking for Sarah. Yeah, that's me. You're African American. Yeah, I know. I was born this way. I'm sorry, we can't see you after all. Oh,
There's so
and
many there's so
so,
many
Interesting.
things against us. I understand
yeah.
feminism is a great thing for us women, but you hear that it benefits the other demographic more than us.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
One.
well,
It's been proven that
it
DEI
it
actually
does.
benefits
For one.
Caucasian women the most.
Okay, we
It
fight for our
does.
rights and we're feminists and we believe everything's supposed to be above board or equal across the board. But when you fight and they have the ability to retaliate and then they also mess up with your livelihood. So there's so many moving pieces and factors with this. You got to know which battles you can fight and win, then try to fight them all.
I
So,
agree. I
you
I
know,
completely agree. You have to know where you can what you can and can't do,
yeah,
and you have to
exactly.
be willing to put in that kind of work.
Exactly.
You have to be willing to write that letter. You have to be willing to
But
speak to the
but
manager
in the same
and,
breath is what I'm saying is it's nothing wrong with standing up with you for yourself. Well, we got
Mhm.
evils out there that is do everything in their power. You be like, that's not fair. Remember when you was growing up and your mama would give Farrah some cookies and you probably got one cookie. You was like, why she got two more cookies than me? That's not fair. And your mama's like, life is not fair. you know Maybe you got cookies prior, some more cookies prior to her, and that's why she got two more, because a few hours ago you got what you wanted and Farrah wasn't there to get them cookies, so now it's her turn to get more than what you got. So I understand things should be good and fair all across the board in a perfect world, but reality knocks us across the head every damn day and tell us like life ain't fair. And I'll leave it at that.
Especially if you go to the doctors.
I'll
Black
leave it at
women are treated horribly by doctors.
yes, and I
It's
experienced that. I
ridiculous.
have experienced that. I know what you talk about, Farrah, and I have experienced that hell, and I wouldn't wish that kind of treatment on my worst enemy. But I thank God and the universe for bringing me through that, because what I dealt with my last pregnancy was not fair and it was not equitable.
And
At
we're
all.
dismissed a lot, especially I like to ask questions. Funny enough, I barely ask questions in any other part of my life, but when it comes to medical things, I do a bit of research and I need to know what's going on in my body. So when I start to actually speak about something that I know, that I didn't just research on Google. I will go and find an actual textbook and do research because that's the best way to do it. You can go find a college book that specializes in whatever that somebody's telling you is wrong with you. And I've been diagnosed with so many different diseases over time, and half of them I didn't even have. And they just wanted to generalize because I'm a black woman. Well, you must have this, you must have that. They
Mm.
didn't want to come to find out that I actually have this. And it's sad to say that I just was being hammered by these doctors. And so that's what made me start to do more and more research because I would be like, well, how come I have this? Oh, because you're a black woman. Is that why I have it? Because nobody else in my family has it. And they're like, oh, you probably just don't know because black people don't talk like that to each other. Whoa, whoa. My family
So
talks to each other a lot, so I don't know what you're
and
talking about.
So
And
I feel like that's another reason why we should be supporting feminism is because when we understand that this is about equity, when we understand this is about the social and economic, and sometimes part of the medical issues that impact us, then we can talk about it. Then we can have these conversations and we can come together and share this sort of information because we do support each other. We do understand that we're looking for equitable treatment. We don't need equality. I don't need to go to the doctor for the exact same thing you have because it doesn't impact me, right? I don't
Yeah.
need to go to a neurosurgeon if that won't help me, right? I don't
Yeah.
need every single Black woman to need to go to a neurosurgeon and have 5 visits a year because she may not need to. But what we do want is equitable treatment. We want to be able to go to the doctors that we need to go to and be able to be treated well and fairly. And so when we
Well, to be
understand what
treated
feminism
in a way
is,
that is actually informed by the fact that we are women,
informed.
like informed
Yes.
treatment. Because speaking of feminism and the medical field colliding, did you know that the medications and the prescribed amounts or dosages is all based on Caucasian males?
Yeah.
They don't, they didn't do scientific research or medical research that included women. And they definitely didn't do it on different types of people
Black
with
women.
different ethnicities, right?
Mm.
So right now they might say, 25 milligrams of this is the recommended dose, but it's not based on our actual biology. It's
Our
not based on
makeup.
our anatomy and physiology. The same thing is true with the way cars are designed. Did you know
Yeah.
that?
oh yeah,
They've
They're for
used
the
those
male
test
body.
dummies that look like men, right?
Yeah.
So oftentimes you'll see like when these airbags deploy, women end up with more injuries because it's sitting a square like up high in the face as opposed to men where it's
Lower,
actually a
yeah.
little lower and more centered because they believe that, men are generally taller and that's what they designed it for.
Central
So
mass.
because feminism isn't an integral part of our society, we actually do suffer for it. Whether it's the wrong medications, the wrong diagnoses, or just products that aren't designed with us in mind and it actually causes harm. You might not notice it, but it's there. So,
And that's why we have to be vocal. That's why we
mhm.
have to have these conversations. That's why even if you don't think that you care about it, you do, you just don't attribute that to feminism because you don't attribute that to needing that equality, that equity, that look at what impacts you socially, what that look at what impacts you economically. So because we don't attribute it to feminism, we don't think that it's really integral to what we're thinking and doing and the way we're acting within society. But that's exactly what we're doing. Right now, we're doing something that has to do with feminism. If this was 50 years ago, we couldn't sit here on a podcast with 4 women being able to speak their minds. That would be, even if the internet was out back then, uh,
They didn't
if
even
we
let us have
hadn't gotten here,
commercials with female hygiene products. For the
no,
longest time, you couldn't talk about periods on TV or the internet.
like
They're like, nope,
that wasn't a thing.
you're going to get
So like
censored.
we
and it's
are,
a lot more different here in America than other countries as well. Because I recently found out some countries actually give the day off or the week off for however long you're on your menstrual with
And
no
you're
no
right about that, Fer. Yep.
penalty. And not only do they not get a penalty, they get paid leave.
Yep.
It's
You're
That
crazy.
absolutely right
sounds
about
We
that.
nice.
should be being
That sounds
penalized for
wonderful.
getting pregnant or having
The European
children
countries
our
do that.
periods, and other countries are celebrating them.
So
Yeah,
that's that. It's so many moving parts to this. It's so it
there
is.
is.
You could go to another country and we praised and we're taken care of with no problem, no hesitation. Here
Push it.
they we are considered, I don't know, we're not no better off than a Muslim country in a way. We have more rights than Muslim women, yes, but still behind the scenes they, you
it's
know,
like second-class citizens.
exactly. So, and I understand where you're coming from. I
Yeah.
look feminism all day. Yeah,
And
it's
that's
got my vote,
so
but
the the way that I
Oh,
think
we
about it,
got
and
her. We converted her.
No, hell no.
we did, we did, we did, we got her.
No,
And
God
so,
damn
Okay,
it.
okay.
I support
Segue. No, because okay, all
was
right,
this a trick?
listeners,
Was that
viewers, point it. Is it? Am I pointing the right way? Autumn. Okay,
yes,
is that
yes.
Autumn? Okay, y'all don't know this because
I'll
y'all
make sure
weren't
she
there,
got
but
it.
I'm gonna clue y'all in. When we were talking
you know,
about this topic, Autumn was like, "I don't care. I don't care about none of that. I do what I got to do. I make it work.
but I
Right?"
still am like
Then
that.
we started
Seriously.
talking about it,
Now you
and then Autumn was
understand,
like, "Well, what
though.
about this? What about that?" And I was like, "I don't know, Autumn. Sounds like you're starting to care. You sound a little curious with the
Oh,
questions you
Lord.
asking." And she was like, "No, no." But now look at you. What'd you say? Feminism
No,
all the way? What'd
look,
you say?
but what I'm looking at the reality of things. I'm not saying, that what we're doing is not going to make a difference. I just look at the the moment, the current times, and the
Mm-hmm.
reality of things from where we've been to where we are now, and how we moving forward, especially with the situation that we got with the current administration. And I leave it at that.
Indeed.
Yes. So,
Indeed.
so the way that I think of it, and I know not a lot of people think of it this way, and some people will think this is very controversial, but I think of it very similar to enslavement. And so, because Black people were owned, right? They started further back and had to work their way up. And so we talk about, how that impacts society, and we talk about, the equity for Black people, in society. Well, it's very similar if we're talking about gender. And Black women were part of both of those. We are
Mm-hmm.
Black, and we were owned by our husbands even after, we were no longer enslaved by a slave master, but we were the property of our husbands. So we couldn't go out and do anything. We had to do what our husband said. And so, you know, coming from so far back, coming from being Black, and not being able to build generational wealth, and then being the property of a husband, so it's not like it passes down through the generations, that we have all of these skills, and this thought process, right? It Coming forward to now, we still have those vestiges of families and people who really think that women should still be just property. Women have their place, right? They should make sure
Yeah.
that they stay in
I
their
don't think it will
place.
ever change. I don't think it will ever
I feel
change. You
like it
want to
already
know why?
has.
Because they are using a book that has been used for generations and passed down and passed down. And the men's mentality, I don't know if it's getting worse the way they think, but they like, I don't care how you feel or what you
Some.
thinking. This is this is it. I'm the man, you're the woman. Stay in your place.
And
So,
even just a few
and
years
I think
ago,
there's a direct correlation between that thought process and the male loneliness epidemic. Because us women are understanding that we have choices now, we
Hmm.
have rights, and we could just choose not to be with somebody that's so narrow-minded. So if you want to live in that society, I mean, go for it, but I'm telling you, it's probably going to be a pretty lonely time for you
They don't
because
care.
there's so
I
many
believe
more
a lot
women
of
that
them
are
don't
choosing,
care.
and that's okay. And a lot of them are going to remain unmarried and or miserable, and that's good. That's good for them. I hope they reap exactly what they sow. Honestly, I really do.
Have y'all
Um,
ever seen
but a lot
the
of women
show
are choosing to
Handmaidens?
just. Oh, I love the show. The
Which one?
book is even The
The
Handmaid's
Justin, you
Tale.
wouldn't watch it. You wouldn't
Of
watch it.
course not.
It's too violent.
It's real people. I don't watch them.
It is real people and it is violent. That is not a
Oh,
light.
okay. Yeah,
It is
no.
not a light show. It is not an easy book to read. It's not an easy show to watch. But yeah, I feel like the reason why I started watching The Handmaid's Tale is because somebody said like, "Oh, next year it's going to be starring all of America," and I was like, "Wait, what?" I didn't even see what's going
I've heard
on.
that. And I was like, Do I need to
Season
like
2 is gonna be featuring
get
all of
like the
us. So I was
short?
like, "Oh,
Do I need to get the
but
clip notes? Like,
It
Yeah,
you
gives
should
you a
probably get the clip
basically,
glimpse.
notes."
is women being
It gives you a glimpse.
submissive. And a few years ago, I was actually told that one of the reasons why me and my spouse aren't married is because I'm not submissive enough. And it sparked a debate at our table. Jessica, you were there.
yeah, I
Um,
remember.
so I have a mouth. I know I have a mouth. I try to contain it for the most part, and I do have times when I'm submissive to my man. Of course, I believe that there are moments where you should be submissive, and there are moments where you can go ahead and shoot off at the mouth. And everyone's different. One of our close friends actually thinks that being submissive is actually better for her relationship, and it works for her, and that's good for
That's
her
good.
relationship. But you shouldn't have to be submissive. It should be your
Yes.
choice. You shouldn't be told
You
that,
should be
hey,
allowed to be a
this is how
person.
it is.
You
Exactly.
should be
Like
allowed to be
I
who
like to
you
cook and
are.
clean. I like to cook. I like to clean. I like to do these kinds of things. And sometimes I'm told I'm spoiling him, and that's okay because that's our rhetoric.
That man is spoiled.
However, however, it's a choice that I made. It's not something I was forced into. I wasn't forced to cook. I like to
And
cook. I've
that's
been cooking
feminism.
forever, and that I
That's
was given
feminism.
that choice. We have whatever works for us, and that's what every relationship should be, whether the man wants to be a
Yes.
stay-at-home dad, or if I mean, I do believe men should take out the trash, and that's just my personal point of
That's a
view.
gender
you
role
know
thing.
Yeah, gender
some
role, not
people think it's
feminism.
okay for the women to do it. I'm just not into doing the trash. I did the rest
Okay.
of it. You go ahead and take out the trash. But just like I remember Keisha saying she doesn't pound gas, and I was like, well, good for her. Like that's an option.
Yeah.
And
That's an
so
option.
we should have those options, but it just makes it more
Like,
difficult being a woman to get those options in the first place because we're told what we should do from a young age. We're told. I remember being in Blockbuster and we were looking at something and they were. I can't fully remember how it ended up happening, but we got knocked back because we were little girls and Miss Brandon knocked that man back into place. She just went ahead with all the good descriptive words, and yeah, it was definitely her option because she's an educated black woman. And that's what I want for my daughters. I don't want us to go backwards, which sometimes it seems like we are. And that's what makes it scary to have girls. And I understand like a lot of women when they're like, "Well, I don't want girls." It makes sense. Being so difficult to live in this world as a woman and then on
it's
top of
true.
it have brown skin, black skin, or even yellow skin because we get knocked for being women in the first place. But then to have color on top of it, it can be depressing if you let it be.
But what
It's a
drives me
tightrope.
crazy a little bit is like everybody has come from a woman, and science has even proven that you've come from a woman with dark skin. And yet we are like the least respected or the least valued. Like life literally began with us.
I actually
But
saw a meme that I showed Jessica, and I wish I had sent it to you, Keisha and Autumn. So this woman, she says that all women should tell their children if you ever get lost in public, single out, look for a black woman. They are the
she
most
gonna take care of you.
reliable, they are the most caring,
Yep. I've
they
seen
will
that.
make sure you are taken care of. And I
Yes.
was so shocked. I had to ask Jessica, what does she mean? It's funny because I'm actually one of those women that all kids just
Yeah.
flock to me. I was
Mm-hmm.
telling her every mommy and me class I go to, these kids love me, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I love children so dearly. I treat them
We're
like my
natural
own. I'm not gonna
caregivers.
sit here and sugarcoat anything or pretend. I love you just 'cause you're you, and
Mm-hmm.
I give that to everyone. Children,
Yeah.
sometimes some adults, but children, I don't understand how anyone could ever be like, "Oh, you're lost. Oh, well, let's find you a police officer. I can't touch you. Don't. No, no, no. I can't touch you.
Or
Because how
just
can
walk
you
by, just
possibly
ignore them
do that?"
altogether.
I
Yeah,
had
Yeah,
an
and then I
ignoring them
used
is
incident
to
like
see
that
crazy.
yesterday.
universally, it used to be like that sometimes. You could see
Really?
a child crying in the middle of a crowd, and people would just keep walking by, and
People
it
just
would
walk by
drive me
them.
nuts. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, no, let me. come here. Let me find you a safe place. We will find your
Mm-hmm.
parents together, and if I can't help you, I will make sure you get to someone who can. How can you
Yeah.
walk by a child in need and not feel your heart dying with them? How can you not feel that empathy? And I recently learned that I'm too empathetic and not sympathetic enough, which is
Well,
still a little confusing.
I
But
think that really speaks to where we're going though, right? Like people try to use the fact that that as women we are empathetic and sympathetic, that to say, well, you can't be equal to a man because you can't make these same type of
These hard
decisions.
decisions.
that
Women
And
make
that's
hard
actually
crazy.
decisions
isn't
all
even
the time.
logical, though. It makes us think
Yeah.
harder. It makes us
It's
make
true.
those decisions. It
It
makes us,
makes us look
you know
from
what, we've got
different
to come together and
views.
come up with something,
Exactly.
some critical thinking.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
don't
And
understand
so
how we're not viewed as equal because we're all, men can be irrational. Anybody can be
men
irrational in the right setting.
men
A
generally are
lot of them be
irrational.
irrational.
So
A
so
lot.
that, when we think about it as a whole, it's really a it's really something to really think about is that like emotionally because we develop differently and maybe we just develop differently because people think that women should be more emotional, but because of that we look at it from so many different avenues and we look for different solutions than men do. And even I work in the corporate world, and very much so I look for solutions not just that will be good for the end goal, but that will be good for the people that are associated with that end goal, right? So that can, that's part of the whole logic behind it for me is,
Okay, I
how
love
do we
that you
how do we
said
make it.
that. How do you make it better for everybody involved?
Yeah. That always. I
Yes.
look to make it better for everybody involved by looking at what are their current what are the current pulls on their time? What will speak towards the growth of this person. I don't assign people tasks based upon what they already know. I assign people tasks based upon like growth and the ability to support these goals, right? Their ability to stretch and grow and even interpersonal issues that I might know that exist between teams. I take those things into account. And so as a woman, like that might be something that is part of that strength that I bring into the workplace. I want
Absolutely.
people to understand the abilities that they have to grow and to be nurtured in the workplace, to be supported. And I feel like that is part of my job. That's part of what I do as a manager. And so
Yeah.
like that and I don't know if people would think, oh, well, that's a feminist point of view, but it kind of is. Um,
Well, I'm glad that you said that because we were talking about being emotional and, perhaps us not being as logical, but that is an antiquated way of thinking. If you are stuck in that mindset, you got to probably pick up a book. You got to brush up on some things because I'm looking at psychology today and it says developing emotional intelligence can lead to improved well being, resilience, leadership qualities, fostering a more harmonious and productive environment. So if you think that being emotional and being logical are two separate things, they really aren't. Emotional
yeah,
intelligence is very important. And it's not something that really shouldn't be news to anybody, right? Like,
yeah,
and for us, it seems like common sense. You have to have that emotional intelligence to look around and see what does my team need right now? The morale
yeah,
is down. What do we need to do? You have to have emotional intelligence just to notice something like that.
yeah,
So when you go ahead and you apply that emotional intelligence, everybody benefits. It's the same thing when we were talking about those that when we make um, equitable changes for those that have certain disabilities, it actually
mhm,
helps the greater society as a whole. That's the same
yeah,
with feminism. It's the same with emotional intelligence. So while you might think, oh, women don't make great leaders because they're emotional, it's completely backwards. We actually make better leaders because we have that emotional intelligence and we bring it with us with everything we do, caring for our families, caring for our team at work, caring for our neighbors and our friends. We bring that with us wherever we go. And it actually benefits those that are in close proximity to us. So don't argue with me, argue with the science. Argue with your
Yeah.
mama. You're probably gonna
Speaking
lose.
of which, if you look into schools nowadays, the most Jessica showed me a school, I think it's in Georgia, that they focus on social and emotional intelligence to go with the regular activities of math, science. You can't go to a good daycare nowadays that doesn't focus on emotional and social intelligence. Those are included in growth. They actually say that there's more than 10 different types of intelligence. And emotional
Hmm.
and social intelligence are included with those. If you can't get those, you'll end up with someone like Hitler. So you want to make sure that they're emotionally
Or
available,
Trump.
that you're able to cut that out before we get canceled. You know, he tried to cancel Jimmy Kimmel.
So let them cancel us.
But
We'll be back.
Right?
Just
Like,
like Kimball came back.
right?
those are actually imperatives to growth. Without
Hmm.
emotional and social intelligence, without learning how to get along with other people, you're gonna end up with people who are violent or withdrawn. And on top of not, if you don't have emotional and social intelligence, being withdrawn is actually not good for your health. If you go ahead and look up being antisocial, I know it's a huge thing in America right now, and a lot of people are like, well, I'd rather stay to myself. It actually harms you in the long run. Being antisocial hurts your heart, it hurts
Hmm.
your physical well being. So look into trying to learn how to emotionally regulate. It's actually what's making me try and be better, not just for my spouse, but for my daughter. Because I didn't realize I'm great at communicating outwardly, but not inwardly. And so I'm trying to learn because we didn't have that opportunity when we were younger. We had to stop it because we were women, and on top of it, black women. We had to suck it in and no, don't you show your emotions. That will keep you from jobs. That will keep you from making good money. And it's sad to say that that was a huge aspect of a part of our growing up. We don't want that for our children. I know I definitely don't. I don't want my daughter to have those regulations to where she can't be herself because it's emotionally stunting. And people say that it's better in other countries where they learn how to be responsible. I don't think it's necessarily about learning to be responsible or learning this or that. It's emotional and social intelligence that's making the difference in whether we're growing as a country or staying stagnant. So just the next time you think, I don't feel like giving a woman the same opportunity, think of what you're holding back. What type of growth or stagnancy that you want for your particular country. So,
Yeah. And I mean, so to put a part of that in perspective as well, if we think of why we needed this, um, it was because women weren't able to support their families. And we have people who are like, well, it was better back when men would take care of the women, but we were property. And so, no, it wasn't just men taking care of women. There were women getting beat in their own homes, and it was getting ignored because she's property. I mean, what do you want me to do? He's doing what he wants to his own property. And women had ideas and contributions to make, and they weren't being taken into account, or she would have to give them to her husband, who would then go out and do that idea, right? So, you know, there's so many pieces to this that
Hmm.
people don't really take into account. Um, w- I don't mind having gender roles. I love to cook. I love to clean. When I'm in a relationship, that usually guys do not have to figure out if they have clean drawers for years. They they just have a magical drawer that just keeps on replenishing with clean clothes, and they have dinner, and the food just ends up in the pantry, right? So like I don't mind gender roles, but we want to have options. We want to have the ability to say no. It's okay if somebody does not want to conform to those gender roles. We need to be able to support people to do the things that they want or need to do to live within their own lifestyle. And that's sort of how what the feminism is about. You know, not trying to knock people down because they don't conform to what you think that a woman should be, or a woman has to be, or a woman uh, would be to be successful. So success looks different for everybody, and we want to make sure that we're supporting each other through all of these phases. All of us come on this podcast come from completely different places. We do completely different things, but from a feminist point of view, y'all are amazing. Like, you guys are knocking it out of the park in your respective things that you're doing, in your respective fields that you're choosing, and the things that you are developing in your own lives, right? You know, Autumn with developing her public speaking and learning all these brand new skills, and Farah, stay at home mom whose daughter is already like at a 3 and 4 year old level on things, and Markeisha, who's a manager at work in a medical setting, and has kids who are teenagers, who's and a husband she takes care of, and takes care of the home. And
And
you guys
Jessica, who's
are
the top dog
doing
at his
amazing.
job and who has her own business called Mon Bride Desire. Just saying.
And so,
Drop a
like,
link. Drop a link below. People check it
I'll
out.
drop a link. But we have these options because people before us were feminists, and because we are feminists, even if we don't know it, because we're supporting each other, being able to do these things and have equity and have equality and have um, these choices that don't have to be made for us.
So I have a question.
Um, yeah,
Does that make all women feminists then?
no, you would wish that most women are feminists, but some women don't believe that all women should have a choice
So
because they don't
remember
want
in
to
The
make their own
Handmaid's Tale?
choices.
Remember Serena Joy in The Handmaid's Tale?
Mm-hmm.
Holding a woman down to get raped. Dear Jesus. Oh my goodness. How
There's
crazy.
women that hold other women down all the time in
Yeah,
all
I
kinds
definitely
of
don't want
different
to see that.
situations.
Knock them down. That
Oh
actually
my
used to
God.
be really big in our generation. People used to always knock each other down, and it was supposedly a good thing.
It's still
You
happening.
know,
It's
yeah,
still very
and
much
it's
happening,
sad. You know,
unfortunately.
because it was
We got to
normalized in
call it
our
out.
time.
We really have to call it out.
Okay,
Like
but
that.
okay, maybe I misdid the question. Okay, what I'm saying is all women feminists, but you have to be feminist throughout all aspects of what you think falls into feminism,
No,
or
because
certain.
not all aspects of life are associated with
So that's what
feminism.
I'm saying.
We have our
So
choices
it varies.
based upon
So it's like a spectrum then.
it is.
It's
It's
it's like a
definitely a
spectrum.
spectrum.
I
Okay.
But
disagree.
I think we support each other, right?
I
Um,
disagree.
what's your thought process on it?
I feel like because feminism is talking about inalienable rights, okay? Because I am a human woman, female, I have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Whatever aspect we're talking about, whatever prospect of life we're trying to extend this to, those rights are still inalienable. They're still mine and they should still be protected. Just like if I say, um, black and white people, right? We all have the same rights. It doesn't matter what aspect of life we're talking about, my rights still remain the same. So whether it's my rights when we're looking at the type of medication that I receive or how I'm perceived when I walk into a place or the type of job that I have and the pay, uh, I'm still going to be a feminist because I still believe that my rights are are true and real and they, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know how else to
Kind of
say it,
like
but it's
a
like
black
my
person
rights
who's
don't
racist.
disappear depending on where we are
I
on the
think
spectrum. My rights are still my rights and they should still be respected and protected.
I agree, but I think what she was saying was applying feminism and not necessarily still believing in it. And so
Oh, well,
to
that's different
apply
then.
feminism to something and to still believe in it regardless of where you are, who you are,
Well,
regardless of your situation, I think is
Well,
two different
okay, so
things.
where
believing,
wouldn't you
okay?
apply feminism then? Where wouldn't you
Exactly.
apply it?
I like, okay, for instance, a woman, we believe as women that we all should have the
Hmm.
same rights all across the board, right? Well, you got the
Hmm.
religious women that don't believe in pro-choice, right? But they
Okay.
probably feel some of them probably feel that they are feminists. Just, maybe this part of me, I don't think we should, do this X, Y, and Z. But I support everything else that's feminist, So
But
Well,
is
in
that
that
feminism
aspect,
or is that hypocrisy?
well, see, I believe
That,
I would
that's
never have the right myself. I don't believe in getting rid of a life that God gave me. However, I do believe a woman should have the right to make that choice. So even though
we're
I would
actually gonna.
never go
So
ahead and have,
we'll have that as a separate podcast because it
no,
is
no, but
a
I'm just
whole
saying,
super topic. It's it's a
no,
it's a
but
broad
and I
topic,
understand what you're coming from, but what I'm
but based
saying
upon that,
is, being a feminist, is
uh
it all encompassing, or you can pick and choose what you want to be a feminist about?
so you can be like Markeisha said, you can be a hypocrite and pick and choose,
If you want to,
but
that's
you
your
either
right
support or
because
you
we believe in
don't.
feminism.
Right? We believe
You
in
have the
your
right to be a
ability to
hypocrite.
think however you want. You have the right to be a hypocrite, right? That's just like you have your First Amendment right to say whatever you want. You don't have to be right though. So like
You're allowed to be
that's the
wrong.
difference.
You're
but
allowed
You're
can
to
you
be
be
allowed to be
a
wrong.
wrong.
feminist and
It's
a
your right
feminist
to
and
be
not know it?
wrong. See
Could
what?
they be
Can
what?
you be a feminist and not know it? I
Yes.
mean, I barely even
Hmm.
knew the definition of feminism before this podcast, before we
So
started discussing it.
yes,
I
you can
always
you can
thought
believe in the
people
tenets.
actually
So
call
you
me a
can believe in
masochist.
the tenets of it without actually understanding what the word means. So it matters that we know because then we can fully like understand what we can apply it to and support each other. But if you're already living this thought process, and it doesn't really matter what words you use, right? If
Hmm.
you're already supporting other women and their right to have these choices, whether you call it feminism or not, it really doesn't matter, right? It's important
We
for us
just
to
glad
know
you're part of the
because
team.
yeah, we're glad you're here. Right?
Kind
Hmm.
of like those
That's
black
really
people
it.
who were like, "Oh no, I'm not black massa. Oh no, we should be stay slaves."
No, that's different, Bear.
Okay,
That is
I
different.
just want to throw it out there.
Let's not. Nope, we're not going to mix that.
Hey, I'm just
you
trying to
going
figure it
you're
out.
going way in left field. This is not the same thing. Um, but yeah. So,
So can you be
but
Okay,
yeah,
I
sexist?
we could.
have.
You can certainly be a feminist and not know it, and you can certainly say you believe in feminist ideals and completely be two faced and not actually support women having their own choice.
Okay, I
Can
have a
feminists
question
be
then.
mhm.
Oh no, go for it. Can feminists be what?
Can feminists be too feminist and like hate men and not want them to have equal stuff and want to
Oh,
be
that's a
ruled?
different.
And
That's a
That's something
different.
different.
but that's what a
That's a
lot
That's
of
what
different
people
men
topic.
say
That's
they
think.
called
are.
misandry.
No,
When
but a
you
Yeah.
lot of
actively hate
men
men.
think, no, men think
Misandry.
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
A lot of men
Men think
think that's
feminists,
what
and that's
feminism
not what it
is
is.
based on.
That's different.
It's
That's
not.
totally different.
But a
Then
lot of
Women
why
men
either.
think that though. You
So
ask
so
them.
men
Unfortunately, yeah, they
You
do
ask
think
misunderstand
them
that.
what
that.
feminism is to them, and
Correct.
they say, "Oh, it's a movement against men."
Against
That's
men.
what they
Yes.
think that the
And
idea of
But that is
feminism is.
propaganda. That
that
is
is
propaganda that is
Everybody's going to
purposely
do. Everybody's going
pushed
to
to
interpret it
divide
differently.
us. It's
eh,
propaganda. They want men to think that. They want certain women to think
What they
that to,
think that.
again, keep us divided and be able to easily manipulate us and actually also take away some of our rights, right?
and so we
So
have to keep
don't
that in
believe
mind
it. Don't buy
too.
into it.
Yeah.
you know we need
And so
both
we
genders to
we
have a baby.
s- correct, but so we have to keep in mind, like you just said, everybody interprets it differently. It's
Hmm.
not about interpretation; it's about definition. So if the definition of something
Oh God, don't go
and
there with the
and
definitions
the
because that's been
purpose of
changing a
something,
lot of stuff
right?
lately.
But it's not. Feminism is feminism is feminism. It's not the definition doesn't change. If somebody chooses to call something feminism that is not feminism, they are just misusing the term. Like she said, it's misandry.
You know
It has
what?
nothing
There's
to
a
do
whole
with
lot of
actual
things getting all
feminism.
switched up nowadays. What are you talking about?
But
Okay,
it's
a
not
man
be.
ain't a
But
man,
this is
a woman
not.
ain't a woman anymore.
This
Well,
is
I
not
just
the
want to
same thing
point
as
out
that at
that
all.
no matter what gender you choose to be, no matter whether you choose to be gay or straight, if you decide that you want to have a baby, you still need sperm if you're a woman, and if you're a man, you still need somebody to carry it. So, regardless of whether you're like,
Um,
well, baby, I don't do the other sex, you still need a part of that sex to continue.
I think we're getting off topic.
No, what I'm
I have
saying
a
is,
question.
okay, based on
Okay.
interpretation, right? The men, we think feminism is this right, across the board, right? But they
I,
interpret, and it's been interpreted
correct. So
like
they just need
that.
to be corrected. So they
Good
need
luck
to be
with that.
corrected. If
Good
they
luck with that.
interpret something and interpret it wrong, it's like somebody saying, "Oh, your name is Autumna? Your name is Autumna. No, my name is Autumn," right? You're going to tell them, "No, my name is Autumn because my name is Autumn."
I just ignore the
Regardless
shit
of
out of
how
them and
you
keep it moving.
think, right? And you'll be like, "They're wrong." You're not going to say, "Oh, well, based
But
on their
what I'm saying
interpretation."
is, I understand
I,
where you're coming from, but today's definitions of a lot of things that should be is not so.
but
It is
this is
not
not that.
so.
But this is not that.
Why it's
What
not?
has happened?
It falls in the
Be-
category of,
no, it does not. So
oh
we're
Lord
talking
Jesus,
about
help.
two separate things that people are saying are the same that are not. Just because you call something like something that is not doesn't make that what it is.
Oh,
If I say this wall is black, that does not mean this wall is black. It
Oh
means
my
I'm
God.
wrong.
But
you
what
know,
It
if
just means I'm
but what
wrong.
but
you know,
what if you're colorblind
I'm
and
still
you
wrong. It
that's
doesn't
so
matter if I'm
wrong.
colorblind. I'm still
I
wrong.
just want all of our
That does not make
colorblind
it
listeners
black.
to know that we value you. You're not any less than, and we
You're not
believe in the
less than.
equitable treatment,
However,
even if you can't see
somebody
your
will
colors
somebody will
right.
tell you either an app, like people have apps on their phones that tell them what the color is, and if they say, "Is that a black wall?" the app will tell them no, because it's
No,
not.
but what I'm saying
Because
is,
it's
no,
not.
that's
everybody's
right.
living in. I understand where you're coming from. I understand the movement of feminism, but everybody is living in different truths, different opinions, different lifestyles, and I understand.
No.
So
I
I
understand
With that
that.
last bit,
no, we
there's no such
we have
thing
to
as
we have
different
to.
truths, just different opinions.
There's
Okay, different
opinions and then there's
opinions. There you
truth.
go.
Distortions
So
of the
yeah,
truth.
but
That's what they call it. My truth. I'm living in
Yeah,
my
they're
I don't
truth.
care what
wrong. There's
any
only one
so
And
I
they're
truth.
don't care
wrong.
what anybody says about what their truth is. The truth is the truth of the truth. The definition of a word is what that thing is. If there is a different thing that you think it is, and there is a
Ah,
different definition and a different word to tell you what that is, if you're like, well, feminism is this, but it's actually not, you're just wrong.
Maybe we
So
should start the movement of it's not my
that
truth,
doesn't
it's
make
my
feminism any
opinion.
different than what it is. That does not change feminism by somebody misinterpreting it for something else.
So what you're saying is people need to educate themselves and not throwing all
Correct.
their opinions out there all the time.
Like, it
Maybe just
doesn't
be
matter if
quiet,
you
just read a book
interpret it for
sometimes.
something else.
Oh,
And it
okay.
doesn't matter if somebody chooses to use the word feminism for something that it's not.
Or
If
what I'm
somebody
saying is,
does
a
choose
lot of
to,
men look at feminism. You say, okay, if I walk around, okay, just casually dating,
Mhm.
and like I'm a feminist, and the guy would be a took in the back. You're like, so you're a man hating whore, or man hating, and it'd be like, oh Lord Jesus,
I will
How did
then know
whore
I
that
get
just
thrown in
want.
there?
he's not. So I will then know that he is not educated on what English words mean, and I will do my best to educate him. If he is not open to being educated, then I will say, okay, no problem. We are not a good fit, because obviously you don't know what English words mean, and you're not open to change. That's okay. We just don't fit. I'm good with that. So if he's open to understanding what the actual meaning is, that's one thing. That just means that he had a misunderstanding. Ignorance is not always on purpose. Sometimes people are willfully ignorant, right? But other times people are ignorant just because they have either socially understood it the incorrect way, or because they have been told something specifically on purpose in the incorrect way. So sometimes it can be just social, like how they understood it from context, and sometimes they can be taught incorrectly on purpose. And so those two things, it can be corrected by education. But if
And
they're
willing
not
to change.
open to that, then then that's a whole different conversation.
Very true. Okay, I have
So
a question.
yes.
If you guys had to imagine a world where feminism was like a true reality, right? Can you imagine a truly feminist world where we actually have equal rights and equal protections under the law and all the things? Everybody was a feminist and they acted like it. What would it look like to you? Like, what's
Stay-at-home
one
moms will
thing?
get paid by the government. I
Oh,
mean, if I
What?
have to
say
pay
it
a
again, Farah.
babysitter, if I have to
Say
pay a
it again.
babysitter to watch my child while I go to work, or I have to pay for daycare, why can't I get paid for being a stay-at-home mom? Just saying. I just got lucky to have a mate that makes enough money, but a lot of women out there don't. And then you have to rely on government assistance, which isn't the best all the time. And they act like they're giving you God's gift
Well,
to a man.
that's our country, and other countries actually already do that. So just putting that out there.
Wait,
It's the
what'd you
US.
say? Our country pays people for stay-at-home mom?
No,
Where
our
that?
country does not do that. There are countries that do. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
the
Like,
US
what's
get together.
past, and so I told, it's like, I would be getting paid to raise my child because it's a joy, a blessing, but also really expensive.
It
So
is work.
yeah, but
What
then
It
if
about
I
is
you?
go to
work.
work, I won't even make as much as I have to pay for daycare. That's what's crazy. Especially since I've been
That's
out of work for only 3 years. I stopped working in the middle of my pregnancy because I'm high risk. I'm geriatric. But anyways,
yeah.
I stopped working 3 years ago. If I start all over now, I am at the bottom of the chain.
Yeah.
That's how. Yeah. What about you,
My
Keisha?
skills no longer matter.
Uh, okay, in a perfect feminist world, I would just say women wouldn't have to be afraid. We
Oh
could
man.
we could walk
Yeah.
the streets anytime, day or night, and we don't have to operate in fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
What
you, Jeff?
about you, Autumn?
Well, I wouldn't be using the word feminist because it'd be equal all across the board for everybody.
That would be exciting. You said it, and I was like, "Oh, you're right." Like,
I mean,
that would
we
We
be
wouldn't
just
have
be
to
awesome.
use the
humanists.
word. We wouldn't have to
Yeah.
use the word feminist. It'd
You're
be
so right.
So
We'd be
that
everything, all
humanists.
you know,
that would be the
because
perfect. Yeah.
we wouldn't have to use the
It would be
word.
normal.
Yeah, men, women on the same, same playing field.
Just humans. Just
Yeah,
humans.
just be
Trying to get
humans.
by, trying to live their
Yep.
just living our lives. Yeah.
What about you, Jeff?
Yeah. Um, I think the perfect feminist world would be one where um women didn't have to conform to live in their feminine body to make it in in like social spaces and the workplace. So
We would just be
um
accepted
we would
however we
just be
decide to
accepted
present.
regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you're put together, as long as you are in business like attire, as long as are well spoken in your spaces, you wouldn't have to put on the feminine persona to be perceived
Or respected.
as equal and
Yeah.
respected. So I think that's where you know I feel like it would truly be equal.
Mm.
Um that you wouldn't have to put on any personas for the benefit of others. So
I like that. I like that. I would also like to point out that in everybody's answer, none of it included hating men, putting men down. We're literally just asking for fair and equal treatment. We just want to live. We
that's
just
really
trying to
it.
exist. Like, please.
Yes. We all like
Yeah.
men. All of us like men.
I love some every
None
now
of
and
us.
then.
Mm. Yeah, there's no hating of men. All of us enjoy the company of men, and we all want men to prosper. Like that's the other part of it, is that we want men to prosper as well. We all love black men, especially. I mean, all men, but black men especially for us are near
We're
and dear
rooting
to
for
our
you.
hearts. we're rooting for them. We want them to succeed. We want them to be happy, healthy, whole. We want them to be spiritually and physically safe and protected and feel like they are nurtured. Um, but for us to be able to pour out, we need for society to pour into us as well. And
Yeah.
we need to be treated as if we are worthy because we know it, but we have to fight for it in society. So,
And speaking of, so it's one thing for a man to not be married with children, but it's totally different for a woman not to be married with children. So I have
mhm.
been getting a lot of flack since I've had a child with my spouse because we're not married. And at one point, I did seek out counsel from a church, and we were dismissed because we're not married. Um, and at the time, it really hurt my feelings. And it was pointed out that I'm the one accepting not being married. I'm the one not pushing him into the godly way. I'm the one who's accepting to burn in hell.
So you're responsible for
Yeah.
I'm
your
going to
actions and
heaven. I
his
don't know what these
actions.
people are talking about. Yes. And it's funny
Yeah.
because I'm being the one hit hard, but if you read the Bible, he's the spiritual leader. So I thought it
Yeah.
was a little bit funny that I was hit so hard. And everybody comes to God in their own pace. No one should be forced to be spiritual or be a certain way. And if you actually read, it says you should not judge your neighbor, lest you be judged yourself. So while you're sitting here judging me for not being married, you'll probably go to hell before I will, because I'm not
Yep.
judging you.
Yeah.
So I
So,
believe, I know in my heart, I'm going to heaven regardless. So that was pretty hurtful for me to be turned away just because I'm not married as a woman.
But I think
And
you
I
bring
know
up
a
a
lot of
very
women
interesting
out there
point.
go through it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
sad because women are really driven into that you have to be godly, you have to be this, you have to be that. And if a man's doing something, he's sowing his wild oats, or he's going
it
through this
says in the
damn
Bible that
thing.
all sins
Okay.
are equal. It says in the
Yes.
Bible that all sins are equal.
But
So,
it
Exactly. And it
seems as
doesn't matter.
though,
that's where we
Judgment
are.
is a sin. Just
yeah,
saying.
but it seems as though women are judged based on the sins of others, right? All
Mhm.
sins are equal, but oftentimes we're held responsible. Those sins are laid at our feet. If a
Yeah.
guy is running wild and what is it, running his wild oats, whatever it is, sowing his wild
Sowing his
oats,
wild oats. Yeah.
well, it's
Oh
because you're
no.
not doing enough to keep him at home.
I
Yeah.
hate
Maybe you
that.
don't cook for him enough. Maybe you
I
don't,
hate that. Oh
perform
Lord.
your womanly, wifely duties enough. Why am I responsible for what he does? And I'm responsible for what I do as well. That's a lot
But
of
he's supposed to
responsibility
be the
on one
leader.
person.
He's supposed to be the leader.
But you should have showed him. You should have taught him.
Yeah.
You should
Man,
have
get out of
been
here.
more patient. I'm like, that's crazy. But I feel
Yeah.
like as women, we do take a lot of responsibility. And I feel like it's a conditioning, it's propaganda, it's whatever. Because we take a lot of responsibility for anything and everything. If our child gets hurt, it's because we weren't watching them well enough. That baby stubbed their toe. Oh my God, where was I? Cooking the baby's food, maybe, but we hold on to all that responsibility. So I think it is a part of the system and we shouldn't internalize it. You're not responsible for what other people
Okay.
do.
System.
Everybody's
Okay.
sins, actions, decisions, they are their own. So you're accountable for you and you show up the
Yeah.
best way that you can. Don't let anybody put that kind of stigma on you. You're doing an
Okay.
amazing job, Farah, and you're standing in that righteousness and that
Yep.
truth. Don't let anybody convince you otherwise.
All right.
Bump them people.
So in this episode, we talked about what is feminism, what is a feminist, what are the characteristics, what do we apply it to, how do we navigate life, what would we like to see if feminism was in its perfect form, and what perceptions are based upon some mistruths that we hear, and what the difference between perception and the reality of what it actually is, and what people sort of are misguided and believe is attributed to feminism, but really is attributed to misandry and other things that are sometimes political in nature. Um, in the comments down below, let us know what you thought that feminism was prior to this episode, and if any of this changed your mind, or if you feel like maybe it is something different, have a conversation with us. You've been here again with us for Different Walks, Serious Talks. Thanks for spending time with us, and have a great day.